Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to discuss an interesting problem that I found. So basically, while waiting for the next contest to appear, I decided to just grind a little bit so that I can hopefully gain some ratings when the contest appears. So this is a 2100 rated problem. So this is the problem. So it's called D bracket walk. So there's a string S of length n consisting of the characters open bracket and closing bracket, and then you're walking on this string. So basically this is the operation of walking. So at each point you write down the characters here, and then your task is to basically form a regular bracket sequence. So basically something like this. So when you want to try to make an equation, it will always go valid. So that's a regular bracket sequence. Okay, so the operation would be something like you can go to left and right. So in this case, you can only go to right because you're on the leftmost part of the string. But later in here, you can go left or right, and you can visit any place like anytime. So basically, you can go back and forth here. But whenever you want, whenever you want to try to end the operations, you must arrive at the rightmost part of the string. Okay, so basically, as we can see here, we can form a regular bracket sequence by doing these operations. Okay, so queries are cumulative, so the effects of each query carry on to the future queries. So basically, the it's like whenever something is changed, it will also move on later. Okay, so I'm going to discuss the idea here. Okay, so let me test my board first. Okay, so yeah, let's. Okay, so basically the idea here is that you need to find you need the data structure. So basically, the idea here is to maintain a data structure. So in this case, I'm going to use a set. I'm going to use a set. I think you can also use segment trees, but I think the idea will be a bit different. So in this case, I'm just going to use a set. And then the second idea, you need to notice that you need you need to find these. So you need to find these. So you need to find and this one. So you need to find double opening and double closing. So the reason for this is because if you notice, right, you can actually go back and forth in here. uh I mean, the reasoning will also apply to the second one. I'm just going to explain with this one. So you can go back and forth something like this. You go here, then later you go here. Oops. Later you go here, then later you go here. So yeah, you go like back and forth. Oops. Okay, so yeah. So you notice that you can actually make infinite amount of opening brackets later. So yeah, so let's just call this offset for now. So basically what I want to try to say is that, let's say I have something like this, right? So basically it's just a normal regular bracket, but later uh as we go to the right, there will be like double here. So we need to like cancel this one by making something like this, right? Yeah, but here's the thing. If you cannot find if you cannot find this, right, if you cannot find like the way for you to cancel this offset, because like it's not balanced anymore, then it will be impossible. So yeah, but then later if something goes like this, right, if we have 3 and then we have 2, we can simply just balance it out later by making infinite amount of opening brackets later. Yeah. Okay, so okay, then that should be it. Okay, so we need to later also need to notice that the first element, excuse me, element should be should be oops should be this, and then last element should be this. Yeah, so this is more like an extra if, so that it will not go wrong, because my idea requires this. Okay, so let's apply the, okay, let's make uh the final conditions. So we need to make sure that this part comes, okay, wait, let me erase this so that I can make it neater. This comes before this. Yeah, so whenever you have something like this, right, you cannot, this is a no. Yeah, so you need to also realize that. Okay, so maybe with those ideas, you can probably imagine how I'm going to implement it, but I'm just going to show you, just going to give you a reference of my code. So it's a bit long. Okay, maybe if you have better implementations, you can also tell me. So, oh, I forget something. Sorry. Okay, one more thing. If n is odd, then it is impossible. Okay, so n is odd is impossible because you need to have a regular bracket sequence, right? You need to make it balanced. So every opening bracket needs a closing bracket. So it'll always be even. Okay, so yeah. So we input as normal here, and we make two sets. We maintain two sets. Then later we need to find like the one that is like the same. So if, let's say, the position I is the same as position I minus 1, then we insert to the set that we want. So let's say like it's opening, then we put it to open, else we put it to close. Okay, then we run the query. Then later the we input the position that we want to update. So p, so we input p. So if it's odd, then we just print no, we don't care about anything. And then we make it 0 index. So because string implementations is always 0 index, so later we see this one. Okay, so the reason why I use this is because, let's say, a position is affected because of the change, right? So let's say I have something like this. So let's say I have this one, but we need to change this one this to the opposite one, so it becomes something like this. Of course, this will remove an element from the set. Okay, so which can be affected? So it can be affected when that particular position is the front one. So basically, like the front opening or the front ending or the back ones. Because, like, let's say I have something like this, right? If we change this one into this, so this part will be removed, this part will be removed also. Yeah, so we need to consider position p and p plus 1. And then we just change in the string. And then we also see if p is more than 0 or less than n minus 1, and then it make a double sequence. So maybe something like this. We turn this, oops, sorry, we turn this into this, then we push to the open and close set. So we just push as normal, as something like this. Then later we see like the first and the last element of the string. If it's wrong, so we print no. If both of them are empty, then technically it is a regular bracket sequence. We don't need to move left and right, just move right. So basically it'll form like something like this. Yeah, so just move to the right. And then later, if it's empty, if one of them is empty but one of them is not, we cannot pair them, so therefore we just print no. And as we put this, oops, we put this one, so we need this to comes first before this. So we just check if open begins here, so the first element of open should be, if it's larger than the first element of close. So basically, if the closing bracket sequence first element is like more at the front, then it will automatically print no. Same goes with this. If the ending of the open is more than the closing, then it will print no. Else, it will just print yes. Okay, so maybe that's all for today's video. I'm sorry if there are any mistakes in the explanation, because I believe that is quite a hard problem for people. It's a 2100, but overall I really enjoy this problem because I feel like it's quite satisfying to try this problem even though you don't solve it. If you see the editorial or maybe learn from others, I think it's very good, so therefore I made this video. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy. If you enjoy this video, please feel free to share and like this video, and I will see you in the next Codeforces round. Bye bye.